Hello and welcome round to my house. Now, I'm joined in the kitchen today by a legendary chef from the hills around Abergavenny and a married couple behind one of Henley's hottest restaurants. And together we're going to be serving up some delicious recipes for the star of one of ITV's biggest crime dramas and one of the country's best-loved sports presenters. So what are we doing out here? Let's get inside and let's get cooking. Morning. Are you coming in then? Good morning, and what a show we've got lined up for you today. The very funny Ben Miller will be joining us here at the house. We're excited about that, to talk about his acting success and a new career as an author. And with the Rugby World Cup kicking off on ITV next weekend, I'll be chatting to Jill Douglas will be here as well. And me and Chef Mark Jordan will be soaking up the sun on the beaches of Jersey in the latest leg of my food adventures. And we've got another brilliant recipes in store from top chefs Ryan and Liam Simpson-Trotman. And don't miss this week's little masterclass, and we're giving you a bit of a butchery lesson. I'll teach you the right way to portion up a chicken. That's not all, because I'm delighted to be in the kitchen today with a man who's a great chef and a greater friend from the Hardwick in Wales. It's the brilliant Mr. Stephen Terry! The legend, Mr. Stephen Terry. Welcome to the house. What are you cooking for today, then?
I'm going to do a glow-up on a classic kind of student, that staple tuna, mayo, sweet corn, go-to, you know, sort of pasta that's on a budget, but we're going to give it a glow-up with some fresh crab, some fresh tuna, some really nice linguine. Yeah, so it's just to elevate it.
I love Steve's recipe. He makes it up entirely as he goes along. He doesn't want to say it, but
as always.
He does. We haven't even got the final recipe yet, but you've just got a lot of ingredients and just let him cook. There we go. But kicking this off today with some chocolate fondants. Chocolate fondants are in the oven. I'm going to show you how quickly it is to make them. We're going to serve it with some delicious wine, which we're going to talk about, and we'll introduce these amazing suppliers as well. So chocolate fondants. Fundamentally, you've got, obviously, chocolate, you've got butter, you've got some sugar, flour and eggs. Now, different recipes vary massively, and some tell you to separate the egg yolks with the egg whites, and you whip up the egg whites and fold them all in. It starts to get a little bit more complicated. Others tell you to make a chocolate sauce, and then you freeze the chocolate sauce, so you end up like a chocolate truffle, and then you use that in the centre of the chocolate fondant. There's different ones I mean, your career, you must have tried loads of different ones.
Yeah, I mean, ultimately, the chocolate fondant is one of those desserts where you have the molten, you know, if anyone has seen that film Chef, you know, when Jon Favreau just loses it with that food critic. Yeah. It's supposed to be molten, you know, it's like, it's got to have that runny interior, isn't it? And sometimes I do find when it's frozen and put inside, it's too runny, it just flows out. You want something that's gooey and just sort of oozes out.
Almost like a soft brownie sort of style, I always think. It's like a partly cooked filling. But what we're going to do is we're going to take our chocolate with the butter and melt it over a bain-marie. Just a pan of hot water, really. You can use a microwave just to melt this, but you just melt that nicely. Next, this is the kind of essential bit, really. It's preparation of the moulds, really. So I learnt this recipe and the way you do this from a restaurant in France called Trois Gros, which is a three-star Michelin restaurant, a very, very famous restaurant in France, and I ended up sort of doing a little bit of work experience there. And they then would always line the moulds like they would do a souffle mould. They would always brush up the mould. They would never just throw the butter in. It would be brushed up the mould, so you're creating this sort of ideally pattern for the mixture then to rise up. Yeah. So you use this sort of same technique. So a little bit of melted butter in there, and then as you're doing it, all the way up the side. Now, you can double butter these as well, but we're using what's called a little dariole mould. You can make these in... People make them in coffee cups as well, if the coffee cups are oven-proof as well. But the idea is you want sort of smallish moulds. You would very rarely do a bigger chocolate fondant because it's never going to cook and never going to get soft in the middle. So once you get to that stage, you can line this with several things. You can line it with coconut, you can line it with flour. I actually use a little bit of cocoa powder. So you take a touch of cocoa powder, go all the way around the edge like that, and pop them into there. So you line it with cocoa powder like this. You can do it with grated chocolate as well, can't you?
All sorts of things. And the other thing you can also add is like when you put the mixture into the mould, and you know sometimes you could put like like we were saying, you want ultimately when it comes out the oven, the centre's going to be soft and gooey. But you could also put in like a caramel or like a piece of fudge or something. You can put bits and pieces actually inside it when you bake it. A little bit
of salted caramel, I've seen that before as well. So what you want to do is just melt this nicely. Now, this is going to take about a couple of minutes to melt before I add the rest of the ingredients, which gives us enough time to chat about the garnish with this. Now, you think about lots of garnish. I was going to do strawberries and but we've got our garnish is a bit of vino. So why don't we start the morning? I'll let you crack open these bottles. Meanwhile, we're going to introduce... and we're going to go to Stephen's neck of the woods in Wales to speak to Richard and Joy Morris from Anchor Hill Vineyard. I can see them there. It's not raining, but welcome to the show, guys.
Thank you.
Hi.
Tell us about how this all started, because you weren't born into this, were you? How do you end up doing this for a living?
By accident, in a way. Richard had sold his business and wasn't the retiring type, and we thought, well, is there something we can do that won't take too much of our time?
It sort of started as a hobby, James, and it's developed into a sort of major wine production business. You know, we just followed our nose really over the years, and we enjoy it. So, you know.
How, I mean, was there... How did you end up where you are? Did you go looking for a vineyard? Did you just... Was it on your doorstep? I mean, how on earth do you get started in that sort of stuff? Surely you would just buy an existing vineyard and carry on, but you guys didn't do that.
No, we didn't. We bought the property that we live in 1999. And then we had a field that was south-facing on a slope. Richard did a viticulture course at Plumpton College. One of the sections was site selection, and we realised we were sitting on a near-perfect site. So we planted 4.5 acres the first year, and then we planted another 5.5 the following year. And it's just gone from there, really.
And this is the first planting you can see behind us.
And it certainly has gone from there, really. I mean, we're tasting two of your products over here. First of all, let's talk about the fizzy one, the sparkling one, because this has been hugely successful for you around the globe, haven't you, really, this? So tell us about the sparkling one. What makes it unique? What do you need to produce really good sparkling wine that you've got here?
Just like any wine, real top-quality fruit. So this is 100% Pinot Noir, grown here on the estate. It has been very successful. It sells very well in the UK, obviously. But, you know, we're exporting it now to Canada, Hong Kong, Singapore, the States, places like that. So... yeah, no, it's going very well, and it's a delicious wine.
Fantastic.
I love this. We're going to talk to you in a little bit more. I just want to recap what we've got in here because we're going to serve it with this chocolate fondant. What you do with this is you start off with the melted butter and the chocolate in there. In we go with the sugar. In we go with the eggs. And this is the great thing about this recipe.
Just whole eggs?
Whole eggs. And this is where I learnt this in this restaurant in France.
Blimey.
You just throw everything in. I couldn't believe it, to be honest with you, because I was so used to making chocolate fondants where you separate all the ingredients and that kind of stuff. You take the flour, you pop that in as well. The whole lot goes in.
Wow.
And then we take the little sort of spatula out, and then all we do is you just mix this together.
So the flour kind of stabilises it, I suppose.
The flour's going to stabilise it, but so many times the recipe is very, very different. Usually, chocolate fondants, like I was saying, you make the meringue and you separate it and you add the egg yolks and all that kind of stuff. But you just mix this together to this mixture that we've got in here. And then what you do is you take this and we're just going to pour it into our moulds.
How easy is that?
So it's so easy, 3/4 full. Now, the great thing about these, you can freeze them. So you can cook them from frozen. You can freeze them. Alternatively, you cook them from fresh, which I'm doing now. Take about sort of 10 minutes. From the fridge, probably about 11 minutes.
Yeah.
From the freezer, probably 13 minutes, something like that. About 200 degrees. You pop them in there.
So now's the opportunity if you wanted to like stick a Rolo in the middle of it or something, or a slice of Mars bar or something like that. I don't know. Now's the time.
I'm glad you mentioned not just one, but two. Yeah.
Yeah. Other
Curly Whirly. That's another one. There.
Other confectioneries available. Yeah,
exactly. So the timer's gone off on here. So
look at those.
These are the ones that you just 3/4 full, and we leave them like that.
They are like little soufflés, aren't they?
Yeah, they're like little soufflés. You just sit them like that. And now, it's important to leave them to rest as well, prior to you then preparing them, because you want them to rest and you want it just... They just rest and they hold nicely. So we're just going to leave those to rest slightly. probably just for a couple of minutes. Yeah. Meanwhile, I'll make our nice little sort of garnish with that, with just some strawberries and bits and pieces. Now, so we mentioned the sparkling wine that you've got in here. So tell us about this amazing orange wine that we're tasting as well, because this is, I mean, this is spectacular. I'm going to serve this with the chocolate fondant. Tell us about how you make this.
Okay, well, it's a biodynamic wine, so it's not fined or filtered, so hence the sort of slightly opaque nature. So we've carbonic macerated whole bunch. The varieties are mainly Albarino and Chardonnay. About 40 days carbonic maceration, which is where we put whole bunches into big concrete cuves, seal it up and gas it with CO2 for about 40 days. It's a pre-pressing preparation, and it works on the enzymes of the fruit, and it extracts really good fruit flavors from sort of potentially quite low alcohol fruit. So, yeah, it's a great, cool climate way of producing an orange wine.
Taste is amazing.
Yeah. So, Richard, why? Just to clarify, because a lot of people won't know, because orange wine is quite trendy. It's at the moment, it's talked about quite a lot. So, why is it referred to as an orange wine? I mean, obviously, the colour, and how's that achieved?
Purely the colour, Steve. I mean, we do get a lot of people coming into our cellar doors saying, "I didn't know you grew oranges," but in fact,
there we are.
Yeah. So. The carbonic maceration basically is extracting all the colours and flavours from the skins. So it's in effect you're making a wine from white grapes in the way that you'd make a red wine, where you're sort of macerating the skins to get the colour and influence of the skins in the taste as well.
Now, obviously, I've got to mention the fact that we've not had great weather in this country this year, but where sort of farmers have suffered bits and pieces, it seems like the vineyards have sort of really relished, and a good crop this year. Are you going to look at the same way 2022 for you? It's going to be a successful one?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, the season has been really good for us. I know, most farmers have suffered from not enough water, but the grapes have loved it. The vines have just thrived. You could see them blossoming overnight. And we just hope now it lasts until October when we harvest.
Yeah, the dry and hotter the better for growing vines, but not for a lot of farmers, obviously.
Well, thank you guys for being involved in this, and best of luck with everything. Yeah. I think your story's fascinating. I think from people who don't know anything about sort of producing wine to be one of the world leaders in terms of the sparkling wine that you've got as well, I think it's an amazing story, and right in the heart of Wales as well. So best of luck with everything.
Lovely to see you. See you soon.
Thank you.
And I'll get him to pop in on his way home.
No, oh, please don't.
Please don't. He's drunk my cellar dry, so he needs to make up for it and get some wine off you. But take care. Look, so this is your nice little chocolate fondant, and the idea being that you can just serve this as it is like that, and then hopefully when you break this down the centre,
there it is.
You end up with a gooey filling in the centre.
That's the one.
So there we have it. Hot chocolate fondant with an amazing orange wine.
Happy days.
There we have it. Hot chocolate fondant.
Fabulous.
But there you have it. It's really a foolproof recipe. Whether you freeze it, cook it from the fridge, or just cook it from ambient that I've just done there. But hot chocolate fondant, the key to it is the timing. So remember, 10 minutes, 190, 200 degrees, and it should work. Right, Stephen will be cooking for us a little bit later on in the show. You're going to be doing this tuna pasta.
Yeah.
He's making it up.
Giving it a glow up.
Exactly. We look forward to chatting about the Rugby World Cup with Jill Douglas very shortly, but don't go anywhere, because after the break, I'll be rustling up a dish of bacon and local oysters on a stunning food adventure to Jersey. I'll see you in a bit. It's not bad, that, is it?
That is amazing.
Well, there's another 4 more if you want to eat them, and there's another 4 more in the oven.
There's a few hungry people watching them right now.
Look at that.
Oh, wow.
Anybody want a fondant? Welcome back. Now there's a masterclass in portioning up a chicken coming your way a little bit later, and I'll be in the kitchen with comedian, actor and writer Ben Miller a little bit later. OK, it's time to take a look back at some of my favourite food adventures. And this week, I'm on a tour of Jersey with my own mate, Mark Jordan. And while Mark's learning all about the local oyster trade, I'm firing up the barbecue on one of the island's most beautiful beaches. Enjoy this one. Welcome back. I'm on the island of Jersey with top chef Mark Jordan. I've learned all about Jersey Royal potatoes, but this island is also famous for its oysters. So Mark's off to meet Charlie, a farmer with the Jersey Oyster Company, where they grow these wonderful shellfish. The Oyster Farm spans 35 hectares and sits on the southeastern tip of Jersey, which is wide open to the English Channel.
We all know with shellfish and lobsters and oysters and all sorts, it's all about the quality of water. What makes these Jersey oysters so good?
Well, we get an enormous tidal range, the third highest in the world, and it flushes through here every day, twice a day. So these oysters will be under about 10 metres of water in a few hours' time.
Right.
In that water is endless nutrients which they feed on.
So how long does it take from coming out of the beds which we see there now to the holding and then to the final when the public buy them?
Well, they come in from land-based hatcheries, and they're 6 mil, so about the size of the end of a pencil. So these oysters are heading for 18 months to 2 years old.
So that's the turnaround time from that little seedling to that is 18 months?
Yeah.
Wow.
I'll just unhitch a bag here. These will have been put down a few weeks ago.
Wow, there's quite a few in there, isn't there?
There is. The quantities are carefully measured so that it allows them room to grow, but without them growing together, which is what they really want to do.
So we've got the oysters. Should we go and have one?
Let's go. Welcome to the tasting room, Mark.
It's an absolute pleasure to be here.
Do you fancy giving me a hand with some shucking?
Oh, if you force my hand, I will. So is there a technique to this?
Yeah, just courage. And don't use a lot of pressure. Just get the knife in.
A little twisting.
And then a little twist. And
break the seal.
Pop the hinge, that's it. And then cut the muscle away from the top shell. Then make sure you've got rid of all the little bits of shell there.
Yeah.
And then remove the muscle from the bottom part of the shell. Flip it over as you've done.
Perfect.
Cheers.
Beautiful, absolutely beautiful. So I think we should have a little toast to that.
Cheers.
Thank you very much. And would you mind if I actually take some back for James?
It's a pleasure.
Thank you very much. James, you are going to love these.
I'm sure I will. Thanks, Mark. I found the perfect spot to cook with them as well. This dish is wonderful, and it utilises the oysters that Mark picked up for me. And I'm actually going to cook them, because a lot of people don't like raw oysters, but if you're going to try them for the first time, I'm just going to simply cook them on a barbecue. I'm going to serve it with a wonderful salad of bacon, some croutons, actually pickled onions, but it's the liquor as well, the vinegar, which works really well together with the oysters as well. So the first thing we're going to do is make our breadcrumbs, because I'm going to start off with a little salad. So just take our little bit of bread. Look at that, the sun's out. It's a gorgeous place. So chop up your little bit of bread, and then we're just going to fry this off. Just a little bit of olive oil. Just get a bit of colour on the old croutons. I just get so much enjoyment about cooking outside, you know? You spend your life as a chef cooking, just looking at tiles. That's all you see, tiles and shelves. And the occasional chef shouting at you, which I used to have by a Frenchman over there, lunatic. But it's just so nice to be out and about, look. You've got some croutons here, looking lovely. They just go to one side, leave those underneath. Meanwhile, we've got our bacon. Pass that over. Thank you, Ash, lovely. Multitasking is that man as well. Ask him to cook, it's hopeless. Put a camera in his hand, he's a genius. Just look, a little bit of oil. Now, I'm going to utilise this as a dressing, so we need the fat from the bacon to make a dressing, and actually going to do this as a sort of a bacon fat dressing, like that. Then I'm going to serve this with pickled onions. Chefs are obsessed with certain ingredients, and they'll go for sort of wild samphire and caviar and stuff like that. This, to me, you cannot be on a beach without pickled onions. You just can't. I'm going to use some of this vinegar as well, so keep your eye on the little bit of bacon there as it crisps up. And we take our onions and we can slice these like that. Now, this is a little salad that I'm actually going to use for our oysters when they're cooked, because that pickle, that vinegar, works really well with oysters. Put them into a little bowl. Together with some tarragon. Now, tarragon is another great flavour with oysters. You often find that restaurants will serve it with a bit of tarragon vinegar when you have them raw, with a few diced shallots in there. So this is kind of the idea, really, what I'm going for this. But you've got your gorgeous crispy bacon. You've got to be careful with this bacon, particularly the bacon fat, because I ain't got any shoes on. And I refuse to wear sandals. I can't do with sandals. I don't like people who wear sandals. I don't trust people who wear sandals. Look. And then we're going to utilise this to make our dressing. So you've got the crispy bacon. That's going to go partly into our salad, but also partly with our pickled onions and my tarragon. So we're nearly there with everything, really. I've got my nice little dressing there. I'll give this a quick mix. A little bit of black pepper. Not salt, of course, because it's pickled anyway, so a little bit of black pepper. We'll leave that to one side. Meanwhile, we can make our nice little warm dressing, all right? So this is the oil. I've got some mustard. Dijon mustard, of course. Nice dollop of Dijon in there. I'm just going to use a touch of this vinegar from the onions. Give this a little whisk. Then you see you get this wonderful little sort of French-style dressing. So my dressing's done. My croutons and my bacon are there. Now, turn our attention to our oysters. These are absolutely beautiful. Look, pop the knife in along the side, wiggle it, and then it'll open up. Now, pros will actually open these in seconds. Now, wherever possible, keep the juice of the oyster in there as well. So we'll just leave that resting nicely. So once you've got a load of these open, really, you don't get any fresher than these, to be honest with you. They're beautiful, like that. And then just simply, to cook them, pop them straight onto the coals, like that. And these are going to gently cook now on the coals for about 2 or 3 minutes. Now, the oysters are nearly there now. One thing we don't want to be doing is overcooking them, so grab a little bit of this salad. A few bits of that. We've got a bit of watercress in here. Grab some of your dressing. And give that a mix together. That's all that fat from the bacon. It's a nice warm salad with the croutons, everything else. And simply, we're just ready to plate now. Grab your tongs. Lift off our lovely little oysters. And then to finish this off, this is this tarragon, pickled onion, bacon combo. Finally, get your nice salad. So there you have it, my pickled onion, oyster, and bacon combo. The ultimate seaside treat. Jersey is a special part of the world as well. If you ever get a chance, really go, because it's fantastic. It's beautiful, beautiful, beautiful island. Right, still to come, I've got dishes from chefs Ryan and Liam Simpson-Trotman, and the one and only Stephen Terry will be here. But I'll see you after the break, when Jill Douglas and I will be in the kitchen talking about the Rugby World Cup and also clam vongole. I'll see you in a bit. Welcome back. Coming up, we've got mouth-watering dishes from chefs Stephen Terry and Ryan and Liam Simpson-Trotman, and the very funny Ben Miller will be dropping by shortly. But first, I'm here with a sports presenter who's going to be all over our screens for the next few weeks, presenting ITV's coverage of the Rugby World Cup. It's Jill Douglas! First of all, welcome to the house.
Great to be here.
Because you're not a million miles away from here, just up the way.
Just up the way, up in Gloucestershire, up in the Cotswolds. So,
it's an amazing part of the world around here, isn't it? It's lovely, lovely part of the world. So I thought, dish-wise, you're not a meat eater.
No.
Fish eater, and shellfish. So I thought, why don't we do a dish that's really banging season at the moment? Because clams, clam vongole, or something. Like, you can do it with spaghetti, I'm going to do it with linguine, but vongole, and in terms of this dish, the great thing about it, it's so simple. Running through the ingredients, we've got parsley, we've got lemon, usually Amalfi lemons you can get them, but parsley, lemon, chilli, garlic, clams, a little bit of linguine, the pasta, and then we've got a white wine and an olive oil. So I'm just going to start off with some garlic and a little bit of olive oil in the pan. Like, we're going to start off with your career. Before we talk about sport, journalism was the thing that you wanted to get into, that you got into, written media and all that kind of stuff. Then you moved. How did that transition go from sport? Is that because you love the sport? I know you're a big sport lover, but how did that happen?
Well, I was always volunteering for the sports stories when I worked, first of all, for the local newspaper, then I worked for the local television company, Border Television, up in Cumbria. Yeah. And so I was, you know, around sport a lot, and I kind of grew up loving sport anyway.
Because it was horse racing as well, another love of yours, which was from the area that you were brought up in Scotland as well.
Kelso, local track, Carlisle, of course, and sort of Northumberland. So then I was approached by BBC Scotland, who asked if I'd been interested in working in television, and I had really no interest because I really wanted to be a print journalist. As my
same as me. I was quite happy being a chef in the kitchen and then just drag you away okay, to do this. Yeah.
But in a way, you know, it's the best decision I ever made because it's given me so many amazing opportunities. But it was quite a thing to give up hard news. Yeah. But then you work in sport, and actually it's a lovely environment to work in because, yes, it's serious, and yes, people care about it, but it's sport. And I've just revelled in it, been really lucky. So I've just concentrated on sport for the last maybe 25 years, and it's been great. You know, I've had great opportunities, saw some amazing things, travelled the world.
Well, you have done, and we'll talk about a few of those amazing things. And we've got to talk about rugby as well. But let's start with that, and we're going to end with rugby as well. But tell us about obviously the World Cup, the Women's World Cup as well. I mean, for sport in general, for women, it's been a phenomenal year. And let's just hope that this can be the sort of the icing on the cake, really, as well. But in terms of the women's rugby as well, I mean, it's a great game to watch.
It is. The skill level is fantastic. We've obviously got the Rugby World Cup coming up in New Zealand, delayed from last year. We covered the previous one, which was crossing Belfast, the final, and then it was delayed. And it's just a sport that's grown and grown, and the skill level goes up every year. So, yeah, it's in New Zealand, and all the games we're going to be showing on ITV, which is tremendous. I think that's the first time that's happened on terrestrial TV. But England have got a great chance. You know, they're #1 team in the world. They haven't been beaten in 3 years. They've won 24 matches on the bounce. And, you know, I've been to some of the matches recently, the warm-up games, and the crowd and the support they receive is incredible. You know, the best crowd we had at Gloucester last season was for a women's international. So it just shows there is an appetite within sports fans to see high-quality women's sport. And they just keep delivering. I mean, it's tremendous. So they're going to have a tough time. It's not easy to go to New Zealand and win rugby matches of any kind.
I mean, they've won, what, five times before? England, what, twice?
Yeah,
twice so far?
And they lost to New Zealand in the final 5 years ago, which I think some of the girls in the team were part of that squad and will remember what that felt like. So I think that memory of defeat will really push them forward.
I'm getting the feeling it's like Top of the Pops with all this sort of smoke and stuff over it while we're trying to chat to you. But look, we've just got our clams over here. This is the key to it, really. Once you get to this stage, this is where you take the clams out. And I think this is the common mistake that people do with this.
How do you know when to take them out?
when they're just slightly opening up, which these are. You see, they're just nice and opened up like that. So they're just like nice and opened up. We don't want to overcook them, but the garlic can stay in there as well. And the most important bit now is we take our pasta. We can turn this off a little bit. We take our pasta and sort of half cook our pasta, and then we're going to take the pasta out of there and put it into there as well. But I mentioned we'll take rugby to one side as well. I mean, people have seen you recently as well cycling, because you've been doing an awful lot of that over the years.
It's been great.
That's been amazing. Again, women as well in that. I mean,
more
recently,
like Laura Kenny,
who
has just been incredible. Just Lizzie Dignan, some of the great women that we've seen come through the British ranks. I was really lucky back in, it's going to sound really old now, but back in 2003, I'd moved from BBC Scotland to Sky and then to Network BBC, and 2003 they said, would I go and cover the track cycling World Championships in Stuttgart? And at that point, it was quite below the radar, it wasn't something that people were really aware of.
Yeah.
And that just was the beginning of that real amazing acceleration of success for the British team. So I was really lucky that way, but it's been brilliant. It's been given me some of the most memorable moments, to be at an Olympics and see Chris Hoy win his 6th medal or Jason Kenny his 7th, and to see the way that Laura has just shone. Yeah. I mean, what an inspirational character she is. So, yeah, and they're great characters as well, the likes of Wiggins and Cavendish. To have seen what they've achieved and to inspire the sort of next generation, if you like, of cyclists come through. So, yeah, I've been very lucky that way.
It's pretty special. So, look, we're just going to take our pasta out of here, pop it in here, take that off to one side, and then I'm going to bring this to the boil and continue to cook this. And the idea is don't put the clams in until you're really ready for them right at the very end. But you can see the pasta is not quite cooked. It's still quite firm. We're just going to finish off cooking it all in here as well. So what's next for you in terms of what you want to do? Because you've covered almost everything as well. There's got to be, I mentioned horse racing as well. Another passion of yours, because that's where you come from as well. But I know you're based in Cheltenham and you're all around there. It's just...
It's a great place to be. And I love my racing, but it's what I do when I'm sort of off duty. Maybe I've done a little bit of work in horse racing in the past, but I think, we usually think what's next. I just want to carry on doing the things that I love doing, whether that's Six Nations rugby, Rugby World Cups, the big events. We had a great Commonwealth Games. I enjoyed doing that for the BBC, and Olympics coming up in France, Rugby World Cup in France next year. And every time you get to the end of one, you think, well, that was amazing. London 2012, incredible. Maybe I should just stop. Because will it ever get any better? And then somebody says,
it does get better.
And then they go, well, Rio or the World Cup. You think, actually, France will do an amazing World Cup next year. I was there in 2007 when they hosted it, and it was amazing. So, yeah, I think as long as I'm still excited by it and still...
Well, it comes across as well. It definitely comes across.
As long as you enjoy it, I think that's the main thing.
Exactly. Well, I'm enjoying cooking this while chatting to you as well. But you've got, look, this is the little vongole, a little bit of chilli gone in there, parsley at the end. Then the idea is you cook this now, so you just start to turn it down a bit. You can throw in a little bit more olive oil in there as well. And then we take the lemon right at the end. The lemon. So the idea is the pasta is sort of half cooked, and then you add it to the pan to continue cooking it. But I love this dish. I absolutely love this dish.
And it seems very simple. But
it's one of these dishes that you have on holiday, and I don't know why we don't cook it often in this country, because the clams are amazing. They're on our doorstep. Look at this. We're going to take this, put it on a nice little bowl for you, but
wow.
Like I said, you can put this over the top of there.
My son would love that. He loves shellfish. He's not frightened to try anything, and he would love that.
Oh, to me, this with a little bit more parsley over the top, a little bit of olive oil. There you have it. My version of a little vongole. Easy as that. There's a lot to eat, but and you got more coming as well. You got more food coming.
This is not all for me.
Not all for you, but have a taste of that. But taste it with the clams and everything. I think you'll see it. If you taste the clam meat as well with everything else, it's just
not the easiest thing to eat.
Yeah, but when you cook it with that, and It's really
the
simple.
flavour and the freshness.
It's the freshness of it and the clams and everything else. It's one of those, it's a magical dish, that. Well, there'll be more from Jill a little bit later, and I'll be serving up lamb chops for Ben Miller from Professor T in Bridgeton very shortly. But join me after the break when the incredibly talented duo Ryan and Liam Simpson-Trotman will be wowing us with another one of their fantastic recipes. I'll see you in a bit. Welcome back. Now, there's still plenty to come from my guests, Ben Miller and Jill Douglas. First, I'm here with two chefs who have got the restaurant. In fact, it's the hottest ticket in the home counties to even get into their restaurant, Orwell's. It's the fabulous Ryan and Liam Simpson-Trotman. Good to have you back. And slightly different this time. What are you going to be making for us?
So we're going to be doing some lovely munkjack. So we've got a munkjack saddle here, which is quite cool. We always cook munkjack. Absolutely love it.
In season now, big time, isn't it?
Big time, yeah, exactly. And we're going to cook it on the barbecue and rest it in duck fat, especially for you.
Of course you are. I've got a reputation at some point. I don't know what that is, resting it in duck fat. But anyway, so tell us about the munkjack first. What is this bit then first? I'll let you get this.
So, yeah, this is the saddle. We get it in whole, we break it down, we use the whole animal. So we use nose to tail, and we find the saddle's quite easy to cook on the barbecue. It's really delicious. A lot of people can associate with that cut of meat as well.
They compare it to sort of venison. It's not really venison, is it, really? It doesn't really taste more lammy, would you say? Not as strong as venison.
Yeah, I'd say it's really light in flavour, because you think game, you think it's strong, bloody, but this night it is, like you say, it's very lammy in that sense. Venison is darker. This is a lot smaller, the animal, so it's
I think it's very, very tender. I think that's the most important. It's really, really tender.
I think if anybody wants to try it for the first time, you're probably better off trying this if you want to try it.
Definitely,
and then go to venison.
Yes, 100%. It's like you wouldn't go straight in for a hare without trying the rabbit first, obviously.
Exactly.
Well, that's a different case. A hare's quite strong.
Well, very, very strong as well, isn't it, really? But very, I mean, like you said, a great loin off this. It's
yeah, I mean, the colour of this meat as well. So all I'm going to do is just take it off the bone like so, and you just get this beautiful loin. I've still got it, as you can see.
I'm watching because I'm mesmerised thinking, how much is the chef going to waste here? There's a little slip.
Oh, there's a little slip. There's a little slip.
Just a little one.
Liam's actually the worst person to have watching you because he's such a perfectionist, so it's really difficult. But anyway, so I think I've done a good job there. So I'm just going to pop that over back there. We're not going to need that.
Hide that bit, yeah.
Yeah, hide that bit. The bit with the extra meat on. And then we're just going to trim this up. So this is just like what you get. I suppose you can get from the local butcher house for a loin of venison or a loin of lamb. And we're just going to take this little bit off here, like so. And then we're going to fillet it almost like a fish. So, well, not fillet it, take off the skin.
But we don't waste any of this. We'll mince this at the restaurant. Maybe this time of year, going into autumn, winter, faggots are absolutely fantastic.
But it's that sinew you've got to take off. That's the key to it, really.
Yeah, definitely. Otherwise, it will become really chewy. And sometimes, you know, like when you have like a lamb loin and you leave the fat on, it's a little bit of a compromise because sometimes you get that sinew underneath, which is a little bit annoying. But yeah, so there we go.
Now, we've never asked you when you've been on the show. What made you set up where you are now, Orwell's?
Well, to be honest with you, I mean, we had a restaurant not too far where we won a Michelin star called the Goose in Britwell Salome, which was just outside Watlington. And we were looking for property within the area. We had a look at the place and we fell in love with it. A great catchment area, great garden. I kind of walked in and thought, right, I can sit 40 in the garden, 30 in there. I thought, yeah, this is going to be a good business venture sort of thing. And
what's happening over here?
So just while Ryan's talking about that, you asked that question, I was trying to get this on. So basically, to go with the munkjack today, was thinking autumn, game season's upon us now. We're moving into a nice autumn crop over seasonal thing. So this is our caraflex or pointy cabbage, I call it. So all I've done is halved it, taken out the outer leaves, and then all I've done is made a little vinaigrette. So basically, white wine vinegar, a little bit of salt, some oil, and some vegetable bouillon paste, and cooked it in a water bath you can cook with, but at home, just poach it, and it's
fantastic.
Boiling
in the bag, basically.
Basically, I didn't want to say that, but it is boiling in a bag. So all I'm going to do with that is straight onto the barbecue, and all this is going to do is just char, and that's it. So straight on with your meat, Ryan.
So the meat is not going to take very long to cook that as well.
No, not at all. And the good thing about this as well, what I like to do, I actually like to leave it out at room temperature for a while, so it cooks evenly, cooks nice. And also we salt it a little bit in advance, so say 2 or 3 minutes, so salt penetrates into the meat and all that flavour. It's just absolutely delicious. So
I'm going to assist Ryan here because I'm going to use his pepper, because this is quite a special thing.
Yeah, I'm going to finish it with the pepper afterwards.
Perfect. So the pepper's quite nice, James. So have you ever seen this before?
I've seen this, the
long pepper. So it's really aromatic, really floral, and goes really well with the meats.
If anybody hasn't seen these before, I'll just put them out on here so you can see what they sort of look like. This is actual pepper. These are long pepper, like peppercorns, but just the long version of. But the taste is amazing. So tell us about the. Go on then.
So we've got the cabbage here. So I've just had a little sneaky peek at this. I'm going to turn it over now. So what we're looking for is nice caramelisation. I know we're using this as like an accompaniment to this dish, but this can be used. Look, here's me burning the kitchen now and again with the pan on. This can be a great main course.
Yeah.
So there we go. So just over. So that's what we're looking for, is that nice colorisation. Yeah. Obviously a little bit sweet because of the sugar within it, but this one's not ready yet. So that is brilliant. I'm going to finish that with a bit of vinegar as well.
Yeah. I think we could actually rest in duck fat. It'd be delicious. But then he wouldn't eat it.
So what about the dressing then? Where does the cob nuts come in?
Oh yeah, so these are Kentish cob nuts. We're going to break them down a little bit and basic vinaigrette. So all we've got in there is a little bit of white wine vinegar, some salt, and a little bit of grape seed oil. We'll always use grape over vegetable oil or an olive oil because it's obviously more neutral. Okay. And that is it. So that's just to finish off with. So basically that's just a little bit of texture at the end of the dish. And then greenery-wise, so this year wasn't very good for our veg patch because of the heat.
And I'm sure mine either. It's pretty horrendous.
Quite hard. So all my chard died, but then it came back. So now I've got chard all this side, which is brilliant. So this.
Were you using your hose pipe?
No. It's a ban, James. It's £1,000 fine. What's wrong with you?
Commercial veg, you can use it.
You're living above it?
You can use it.
Well, I've not actually, because we've got quite a lot of water butts within the garden, so we're all right. And we're saving all our water from, like, if we blanch vegetables on a Sunday, we let the water cool and then we'll just use that. It's disgusting.
Do you do this in the restaurant?
Yes, 100%. The only difference is that in the restaurant we have like a little sort of like grill underneath to stop the heat, transmitting to the bottom and getting trapped and overcooking. But yeah, 100%. And you know what? I mean, that comes from like people like Fergus Henson, with the bone marrow, the parsley. I mean,
precisely.
That on toast is just
proper stuff. I walked past his restaurant the other day, St John's, and Did
you get an
I actually took a photograph for the menu, and this restaurant in central London, and it's renowned for doing just simple, pure food. It's liver and onions, and I did a really tripe, and I mean just proper cooking.
Beef heart and chips. What else do you want?
What else do you want? Yeah.
So I'm not going to rest this in the duck fat because obviously all these pockets within the cabbage, it'll just hold the fat, and we've got to be healthy somewhere, haven't we, with the vegetables? So
well, you guys are now,
I know.
You're on a mission.
Well, last time
how much have you...
like a balloon last time.
I think it's quite mad. Like between us over the last 4 months, we probably lost about 6.5 stone between us. Yeah, the lockdown was kind to everybody, wasn't it? That's all it was.
No, to be honest with you, we never watched ourselves back on this.
You watched yourself, didn't you?
No, we seen a photo on Instagram of me and you and Liam says my head's far too big. so we said, no, we've got to go on a diet, man. And it's quite nice. Until you start having a gin again, then it's like, bloody hell, it's not... Yeah.
So what are you doing now? What are you got now?
So here we've got a little bit of sea aster. So these are from the Cornish coast. And we have a little caravan down in Devon, so... I say Cornish coast or Devon coast. So when we go down, we pick some seashore vegetables. Yeah. So basically, they're quite nice, actually. So it looks kind of like spinach, but it's a little bit more dense. It's got a bit more bite to it. And then just a little bit of chard to finish off.
Yeah. But the acidity on these, with that saltiness, I mean, we always match venison with sea aster. I absolutely love that combination.
Yeah.
Cool.
Sea aster, people can get it online, I suppose. I've actually seen it in some supermarkets will sell it.
Yeah, there's a lot of like healthy food shops now which do a lot of seashore vegetables, the little microflowers as well, which is quite cool. It's nice that everything's more available. I think since lockdown, people had a lot of time to spend at home. Yeah. So when watching these chefy programs, where can I get that from? And I think people with the websites have got onto it, and I think it's really nice. Right, that's me done. So that's me. Always James, always in the background doing little bits and bobs. All right?
Yeah.
Oh, so you're doing bits and bobs for me? All right.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I'm done.
So do you want me to plate this up then, Liam?
Yes, please.
You sure?
Yep, 100%.
Okay. Wow. Right,
so
here we go.
So
I'm going to do that last because I want that to rest as much. Okay. So we're just going to, I don't know, dress it this way.
Yeah, I've got a chefy with tweezers.
Look at that, his tongues out.
I feel really...
It's like he's playing Operation.
I know. I feel really...
And how long would you put this in the duck fat then for? How was this going to...
Like I said, we'd leave it up to about an hour, so we'd cook it slightly less because it sits next to the barbecue, so it'll hold it anything sort of like 35 to 40, staying warm. But yeah, I mean, we just brought this for you today, James, so you get that extra bit of goodness on the outside. So I've cooked a little bit extra because I know there's some people behind the scenes.
There's a crew to feed, isn't there?
There's always some people behind the scenes.
Yeah, there's a crew that wants
We've got a coach to take them on. What do you mean there's some people behind the scenes?
Cool. It's nice to be back in force, James. We're loving it.
Yeah.
It looks amazing. Look at that.
And then what
Perfectly cooked.
Some of those lovely girolles.
You didn't see the swap, did you? I've got a water bath underneath. And then we're going to dress with that. A little bit of the long pepper on there as well, Liam. There we go. And then we're just going to lift it with a little bit of this.
I always think it's better the food, Liam, when we plate it in the restaurant.
It's because we're under pressure from James. Like, we've got to make it look spot on, haven't we?
That's enough. And
there we go.
A few of the nuts, then it's finished.
A few of the nuts are on. Perfect.
Happy with that?
Perfect.
I think so, yeah.
It looks spectacular. I bet it tastes spectacular. So give us the name of this, then.
Do you know what? Before you asked that, I said, Ryan, I go like this. So we've got the Chiltern Hills muntjac with seasonal forage vegetables.
Brilliant. Well, I'm looking forward to this. You've got a little bit there that I know you want to dive into as well. But
yeah, I'm going to have a little...
You're going to have a little taste.
I'll have the cabbage.
You can try the cabbage.
You're going to have the cabbage as well. So.
I'm still vegetarian, that's why, James.
You're still vegetarian?
Still veggie, going strong. Good cabbage.
Is this going to be on the menu then?
Yeah, it is on the menu at the minute. Obviously, it's been on the menu. It's a favourite for the restaurant, isn't it?
Right, it tastes absolutely fantastic. Ryan and Liam, everybody! It's unbelievable. You've got to stick around for the rest of the day as well?
Of course.
100%, yeah.
I know they're going to be nicking some mulberries from the garden. That'll be on the restaurant menu, I reckon, but a bit later as well. But it really is fantastic as well. I'll be chatting to Ben later on in the show as well after the break, and I'll see you then. I'll be portioning up a chicken. I was giving you a masterclass in portioning up a chicken. Trust me, it's well worth the wait because it's something that a lot of people want to learn. But anyway, this is delicious. I'll see you after the break. Welcome back. Now, this week's masterclass is a step-by-step guide to portioning up a chicken, and we've got more fantastic food on the way from Chef Stephen Terry. But first, I'm here with a comedian, a director, an author, an actor who starred in some of the best-loved shows on British TV. That's not a bad opening, is it?
It's very good.
Mr. Ben Miller! Yeah! I'm going to say welcome back, because you've been here before.
Yeah, nice. Yeah, lovely to be back.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So we're going to cook for you again. I thought I'd do you a lovely little lamb dish. We're going to serve it with some merguez sausages. I don't know if you've ever tried those, but these on the barbecue.
I am aware of these sausages.
You probably are if you've ever tried to cook them outside on a barbecue, because these usually sort of spontaneously combust, and whatever building you're usually in, that goes up as well. But they're quite fiery, quite high in fat content, so you've got to cook them quite carefully. We've got some lamb over here, and I'm going to do a lovely little salad with tahini and a little bit of pomegranate and that kind of stuff, and some nice little courgettes. So the first thing we do is just pop our nice little bit of lamb chops on. So I've got these Barnsley-style chops, which is a lamb chop with... It's like over the saddle that we've got over there, but these are
Barnsley
perfect.
as in...
Barnsley chops, they're classed. If you go into a butcher's and ask for a Barnsley chop, this is what you're going to end up with. So we've got our Barnsley chops. These are just going to go straight onto our barbecue like that, and I'm just going to colour these, and I'm going to finish them off in the oven behind me as well. So they're going to go on there as well.
They're a lot more marbles than I was thinking.
They're absolutely lovely. So Barnsley chops on the barbecue are absolutely delicious as well. And we get onto the merguez sausages a little bit later. So first of all, I want to say congratulations, because last time you were here, we talked about your career morphing from sort of comedy into serious acting. Yes. We've seen you do loads of stuff now. Now you're involved in, I mean, books is... You
books is my thing.
This is your thing. This. We'll go straight into it. This is the new one. Yes. Tell us about the new one, because this has got related to lockdown, isn't it? Just
related to lockdown because I live in the countryside. My next door neighbour's a farmer, and during lockdown, he said we could go and walk on his land. Yeah. We went take the dog for a walk on the land, and there was this tree. This
not like that tree.
Like that tree.
Like that tree.
A hollow tree with a face, like with two eyes, a nose, and a mouth. And I thought, well, this is a gift for a children's story. So then I had this idea of writing a story about Lana and Harrison, my own kids, who I always write about, and they find this tree at the bottom of their grandparents' garden. Nana is reading Lana a bedtime story, and she discovers that if she climbs up through this hollow tree, she and her brother can go into the bedtime story.
But you don't you try out these stories on you?
I do. This is
your sixth.
My kids are this age, yeah. So my daughter Lana is 7, my son Harrison is 10. I started writing my first book when my oldest son Jackson was around 9, 10, and yeah, I write. Those are the ages that I write for, sort of 7 to 11. Yeah, so I get, you know, I mean, it's great. I get to do something with my kids. I get to, you know, and I get to try the stories out on them, and I read the stories to them as I'm writing. And what I always watch out for, James, is that moment where their eyes glaze over and they just get up and walk off.
Right.
Because I think...
Does that happen quite a lot?
That does happen, right. And that always tells me... So I think that's one of the reasons that the books are written to really sort of grab kids. At the end of every chapter, I make sure I've got something that makes them want to carry on reading, just so I can keep my own kids there.
But you mentioned it's related to lockdown. And more and more, I've been told more and more kids are reading. You know, the popularity...
More adults are reading.
But the popularity of books in general have suddenly increased.
We watched everything on the telly, didn't we?
Exactly.
We ran out of anything
exactly. And we bored of being trying to be chefs, so we've bored of that now. Everybody was trying to be chefs, weren't they?
We realised we had no talent as chefs. Yeah. We watched everything on the TV, and so we started opening a book. And I think it's a great thing. I like to think... Look, there were lots of hardships, weren't there, of being in lockdown, but hopefully there were some benefits too. And maybe one of them is that we've all kind of slowed down just a little bit. Yeah. I mean, that would be the hope, anyway.
Moving on from the book for a minute, yeah. I want to talk about your career as a comedian and the comedy and that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Because I was reading last night, I was doing a bit of research on you, and it may be right or may be wrong, but you said you didn't really like stand-up.
No.
You hated it. You weren't very good at it.
I was terrible at it. Basically, I had belief in the jokes. I mean, I had a... Right. You know, I had belief in what I was doing. Like, when I used to open with a joke. Well, what about the Norman Conquest, then, eh? How humiliating to be defeated by a nation who go on to celebrate their victory with a tapestry. Anyway, so what would happen is I'd get to about this point in the act, and a lot of comedians, what they would do is they would see it through and they would carry on doing their jokes until they won the audience round. I never got to that. I would literally I've been Ben Miller, thank you very much, good night. And I would just run as fast as I could, hopefully to a waiting car, and leave the city. Anyway, what I discovered was the answer was team up with someone who was funny, which was Alexander Armstrong.
Which didn't do too bad, did it, really?
That worked fine. That worked fine. That was my way of
How did that come about, anyway? How did that come about?
Well, it's just, you know, basically through doing... You know, there was a sketch comedy club started in London, and we both joined it. And, yeah, and then we kind of found our feet, you know, doing that. And then once we'd kind of figured out that, then we were able to then play the stand-up comedy clubs, but only once we'd figured out how to do it in a theatre.
But both of you have gone on to do different careers after that, and successful careers after that. You know, it's got in that presented. But I mean, you've gone into the acting side, the serious acting side of it as well. Bridgerton, you can't have imagined that been the success that it was.
Bridgerton was a crazy thing.
More gutted that you get killed in the first series, which is not good.
Killed in the first series, and I was playing a very sort of interesting part. So I sort of play... There are two rival... For anyone who hasn't seen Bridgerton, there's two rival families, really, the Bridgertons and the Featheringtons, and I played the sort of... the father in the Featheringtons, who was not a very nice piece of work, I have to say, James, not a very nice man. But... You're right. First of all, two unexpected things about that. One, it's not a comedy at all. It's a drama, and I was playing the sort of, you know, it got me my break, really, into serious acting. And the other thing is how successful the show was, because, I mean...
Globally as well.
Globally, yeah. I mean, I think it may have been overtaken now by Squid Game, but I think there was a period at which it was, like, the most watched show, certainly on Netflix, and I don't know about... you know, other platforms.
But this is how times have changed. The streaming thing and all like that has changed for you as an actor as well. I mean, it's given you so many different avenues.
It's been a fantastic springboard for me because, of course, to have a hit show is one thing, but also to have a hit show when that was a hit, when everybody was having to stay home and the only really, as we were saying, you know, everyone had watched everything else on TV. Yeah. So I think it kind of, it was a break, as they say.
Well, just before we set fire to my pizza oven area and we put these merguez sausages on the barbecue, I'll just explain what we've got going on here. So we've got the courgettes, which are basically just grilled. We've got the onions, which we just basically just grill as well. I've got my nice little bit of sesame seeds, so we'll put the onions on here, and then I'm going to put the merguez towards you, if you don't mind.
Oh, yeah.
But these fellas go on.
So get some sort of helmet.
Yeah, what you do with these, because these are made out of lamb, the spices are usually a harissa, cumin, sometimes with fennel and garlic and that kind of stuff. They can be beef merguez sausages, but these have become hugely popular, as I said, in France, more recently in the UK over the years, but African in origin. But these are incredible. But
North African, I think.
Yes, yeah, North African. But they're absolutely on a barbecue. These are absolutely fantastic. So just before they spontaneously combust, shall we just have a look at Professor T in action? Just those people haven't seen it. We'll explain what it is afterwards. But check this out.
Are you sure this is a good idea, Jasper?
Not entirely, Mother. Germs and intimacy. For me, he is the full phobic package.
Well, do take care of him.
I shall treat him as well as I would treat you.
That's what worries me. I hope you have insurance, at least.
Ah. That sounds a trifle superfluous.
He's a pedigree. He's potent. And he'll hump anything that moves. With the price of puppies, such as it is, he's a veritable canine gold mine.
I shall speak to my insurer and add him to my home and contents. Thank you, Mother.
It's happening. My house is going up in smoke. Look, it's happening. We can hardly see you, but this is what happens when you cook merguez sausages. They're amazing, but you've got to be really, really careful with them. But they're amazing. Right, so just lift these off like that. They'll happily sit, but they don't take because they're only small.
So that's cooked already?
That's cooked. I mean, it's going to take no more than a couple of minutes, 3-4 minutes. But they've got plenty of those, and because they put sometimes harissa in with additional oil, so this is where you get that sort of fat content from it as well. Yeah. And they do spontaneously combust. So we'll calm that down a bit. Now you can tell us about Professor T.
Yes. So this is the detective show that I'm doing on ITV.
Yeah.
I absolutely love this show, mainly as I really, really love playing this character. Professor T is unusual, I think, is the best thing you can say about him.
It's a good way of putting it, yeah.
He's a criminologist. He's a professor of criminology at Cambridge University who ends up helping the Cambridge police solve a series of very baffling crimes. But he's also trying to solve his own mystery of who he is and what happened to him as a child that he has suppressed. So it's kind of two very, very interesting stories. And in this second season, he starts having therapy. I mean, it gets to the point where he can't keep his demons back any longer, and he goes to see a therapist played by Juliet Stevenson. And in fact, there's a great series of a great story, developing story with this of him going to see this therapist. Some of the scenes very, very funny, other ones very moving. It's all heading towards a big therapy session between him and his mother, played by Frances de la Tour, and his therapist, played by Juliet Stevenson. And that's a fantastic scene that comes later on in the series.
Well, we've got to stick around for the whole thing. And you're going to stick around today as well, because we've got more cooking coming up. This is just the starter, if that's all right, Ben. So we've got
Where's yours?
Well, this is exactly. So the lamb I've just cooked, put it in the oven. This is the merguez sausages. I urge you, if you can find them. They're in the supermarket. Try and get them as well. If you see them, buy them. They're amazing. Just be very careful under the grill or on the barbecue, but they taste amazing. And the dressing is just with cream cheese, honey, some lemon, tahini, which is like a toasted sesame seed paste. You put that with it. A little bit of pomegranate over the top, some lemon and some fresh herbs. Job's done. Easy as that. Right. Brilliant. I don't know where you start. You start at one end and work your way through it, if that's all right. I'll put you a little merguez sausage there, a little bit of lamb. Tell me what you think of the merguez thing. But
OK, I'll try.
Just what you think with the lamb, everything else. But it's
really good.
Really simple with a little dressing. But the dressing's ace.
Oh, that is really good.
It's nice, isn't it?
That's so good.
And the merguez sausages as well. There's a little bit of spice in it as well.
Sweet pomegranate, absolutely delicious.
It's not bad, that, is it?
Right. Yeah. That's really, really delicious.
That's all right. There you go. That's the first course. I'll be serving the second course of mackerel for Ben and Jill at the end of the show. And I'll be handing over the hobs over to Chef Stephen Terry very shortly. But after the break, we've got a masterclass in portioning up a chicken, buttermilk chicken, that you're not going to want to miss, with a Chipotle Mayonnaise, and it tastes as good as that does. See you in a bit. Welcome back. Now, I'll be laying on lunch for my guests Ben Miller and Jill Douglas shortly, and the one and only Stephen Terry will be showcasing his skills in the kitchen next. But first, it's time for this week's little masterclass, and this week's masterclass is how to portion a chicken, and it's a great thing you all really need to know, really. It's one of the fundamental things you learn when you're at college, I suppose, after you've chopped your fingers off and chopped veg and that kind of stuff and made brunoise and julienne and all that kind of stuff. You let loose on a chicken. So this is how to cut a chicken for sauté. But first of all, what we do is you've got to understand which part of the chicken is which. So obviously, these are its legs, like that. This is the breast area over here, the breast meat. And then you've got the little winglets over here. Now, there are essential parts of the chicken that I think you need to keep on when you're breaking it all down. So, first thing we do is remove the dark meat. And the dark meat is contained in its legs and the thighs, all right? So the easiest way to do that is just take the knife and just cut either side of the legs and the thighs. You just make an incision either side of that to open it out. Now, what you do then is turn it over and pop the leg out the socket. So you just break it out of the socket like that, it pops out. Now, you can see when that happens, this nugget, this chef's eye, this chef's oyster, is then released. You can see that. That's that fantastic cut of meat that you all sort of dive after. This was the prize that I used to, when I was a kid, you used to fight over. Me and my sister, you'd have grabbed that before anybody else. But that's the best tasting part of the chicken. And what you want to do then is use that as a little guide, and you insert the knife in. You can see the knife as it's going underneath, goes in that little socket. You can see that little socket. That's the bone. Continue down like that, and the legs just come off. And do the same thing with the other side. So the other side, turn it, pop it out the socket like that. The little nugget of meat sort of strengthens up like that, firms up. Follow that round. So we've got that nugget of meat now, and then we can cut through all the way through. So you're not cutting through any joints, any bones, really, at this point in time. You can actually take all the chicken out without cutting through any bones anyway. So what we're going to do is take the little joints over here, remove these little winglets over there, bottom bits. And then over here, you've got the legs and the thighs. So to split these, you've got 2 pieces of dark meat now. So split it into 4. You need to find the joint, and the joint really is where this bone is attached to this bone, and you feel it with your finger. Once the little sort of indentation there, you pop your knife in and cut it through. So now you've got 1 thigh and 1 leg. Same thing again. Move it around so you can actually feel that joint. There's a little indentation there. Cut it through. Now, the more you do, the more second nature this is. And I've been cooking quite a long time in my career, so you can actually do this without even thinking about it. And I was tested the other day. I can do it blindfolded, this one, but you can just, the more you do, the better at it you get. But this is the way you can portion up a cooked chicken as well. So you can see now you've got your 4 pieces of dark meat. So now we've got this bit over here. It's called a crown. How to break this down into sort of 4 pieces of white meat. Now, classically in France, you would probably trim that across, whack it into 4, bones and all, and that would be that. So, but there is a different way you can do it. You've removed the wishbone out of here. It's created a little V. If you can imagine the V line going further up and one going up, it creates this little cross. What you can do is take the knife and follow where that wishbone was, there. Do the same thing there. So you've created this little V. Now, because you've removed the wishbone, it's a lot easier for you to take the knife, follow this down, and again, cutting through the joints. It's all if the knife is not going anywhere, you're stuck on a bone. So just cut it through the joint like that, and you end up with a piece of white meat. Same thing again. We cut through. As it trims down, you can see the joint of the bone, which this is attached to this. Cut through, and you've got another piece of white meat. You're then left with just this, the chicken breast bit. Now, what you can do with this, the easiest way, to be honest with you, is take a pair of scissors and cut through like that, all the way through there, cut through all the way through there. And then that would be left for soups and bits and pieces like that. We'd always have that on a tray at college, and the lecturer would come round and make sure you've actually removed that. Otherwise, you get points knocked off. And we're just left with this bit. Now, to then simply just do this, you can take a knife, and you can either cut it that way or that way. And we just take the knife through, chop it through, like that, all the way through, give it a good press. Now, you can, if you wanted to, remove this from the bone and cut this either side of the chicken breast, but now you've got two additional pieces of white meat. But there you have 4 pieces of dark meat, 4 pieces of white meat. This is called chicken cut for sauté. It's a classic thing that you would learn, and you learn it for several dishes, really, for this one. I'll just quickly wash my hands. But you learn it for several dishes, including things like chicken chasseur, your hunter's chicken, that kind of stuff. All the classic sort of French coq au vin, that kind of thing, it would always be this style of preparation beforehand. So there you have it. Very, very simple. What we're going to do is turn this into buttermilk chicken once we get to this stage. Obviously, for that, we need buttermilk. And you've got a decent glug of buttermilk, like that. And then we take our chicken pieces and we just sit them in our buttermilk. Now, what the buttermilk does is start to break down the proteins in the meat and tenderise it, really. That's what the buttermilk is. The acid in the buttermilk that starts to work in the chicken there. You can keep this for soups and stews and that kind of stuff, and also freeze it until you've got plenty. It makes great sauces. You make stocks from it. Fantastic. So don't throw that away. So keep that. Pop this in the fridge now for about sort of 24 hours or overnight, something like that, and we end up with one that's been in here. And then you go online and you get the recipe for, the secret recipe for a very well-known chicken outlet that's now been leaked. And you've got all the famous spices, which we've borrowed this one. So it's usually garlic salt or something like that in here, together with oregano, a little bit of thyme, some spices, some paprika, that kind of stuff. But different recipes vary, so it's entirely which one you like to use. If you want hot, put a little bit more spice in there. But it's that dry mix and the flour that you mix all this lot together. And that is really the crumb for your chicken. A lot of people think it's a batter. It's basically just the flour and the spices. And then what you do is you take the buttermilk chicken and pop that into the mixture. Now, if I was you, I would take a bit of this buttermilk as well and dollop that in. So take the buttermilk and pop that in. The idea being that the buttermilk creates these sort of, well, chunky bits of batter that stick to the chicken. Otherwise, you can see that it's a bit too smooth. Whereas if you take a little bit more of this and start to build it all up, when you deep fry it, it starts to look like that. You start with chunky bits on it as it starts to crisp up. So really you almost take all of that buttermilk and throw all this lot in as well as you're starting to do it. But you can see as you roll it up like that, you get this sort of nice texture from it. Once you get to that stage, hot fryer. Nowadays, they're called air fryers. I've got no idea how to use one of those. But there then, with it being chicken with the bone, this is going to cook for about sort of 10 minutes in the fryer, or turn the fryer quite hot. It'll take probably 2 minutes in the fryer, and then we can finish off cooking in the oven. Next thing we do is a little bit of mayonnaise, really, for this. It's a Chipotle Mayonnaise. It's one of the garnishes that I love with this. You can do it as a little sauce, little dipping sauce. It's entirely up to you. Very, very quick to make. We start off with egg yolks. So pop the egg yolks in. Keep the egg whites, of course. You can freeze these. Make great meringue as well from frozen. But there we go. And then with all classic mayonnaises, it's egg yolks and it's a little bit of Dijon mustard. Never, ever English mustard. It's too strong. So a little bit of Dijon mustard. Put the lid on and blend it. Now, the colour from a mayonnaise comes from the oil. A lot of people think mayonnaise can be done with olive oil. Really, always mayonnaise needs to be done with vegetable oil, really. And then what we do is you emulsify the egg yolks and the mustard first, and we gradually pour in the oil. And by blending it, pouring at the same time, gradually, it emulsifies into the egg yolks. You can keep your eye on your chicken. There you go. There, look at that. That's what you end up with. So look at that. So we've got our nice chunky bits of chicken. And you can see the bits that you get from it as well. Look, that sort of nice texture from it. Look at that chicken there, with the chicken legs as well. Continue to do all the chicken, and then I would then basically just pop it in the oven for about sort of 15, 20 minutes to continue cooking, which I've got one in there, which you can serve with this simple little sauce. So you keep pouring it in, and gradually, it's the misconception with mayonnaise that it gets thinner and thinner the more oil you add. It does the opposite. It actually gets thicker and thicker. So you keep gradually pouring it all in. But you take this, and you can see it getting thicker and thicker. If I gradually start to speed up now, as it starts to emulsify even more, stop if it starts to look like it's splitting, carry on again, like that. But I'll just show you the texture of this, what it ends up like. Look, you got the simple little mayonnaise like that. The colour of the egg yolks denotes the colour of the mayo, of course. And then we can then change the flavour of all this, and I'm going to use some of this. This is Chipotle paste. So this is the amazing sort of, this is fantastic. And you want sort of good glug of that in there. If you put some liquid in it, what happens when you blend it, it makes the thick liquid go thin. And it becomes like a dipping sauce, which is exactly what we want. So we can season that up. Some salt. A little bit of black pepper. And then we pour this into our little bowl. And you can see you've got that. It's so simple, this, as a nice little sort of dipping sauce to go with your chicken, like that. And homemade mayonnaise is going to last about 3, 4, 5 days in the fridge, something like that. And then we've got our chicken, can then bring out. And I've just finished this off in the oven, really. Basically, because it crisps up nicely. You get this crispy style, look at this crunch that you get with it as well. But if you're going to use sort of thinner pieces of chicken, then you can cook the whole thing through conventionally in the fryer, which is fine. But you see you get the bits from it as well. That's exactly what you want, the crispy bits that goes with it. But the chunky bits of the chicken, look at this, look at this. Now, obviously, I've done enough for one. You can double this recipe if you want, for 2. And then we can then grab the rest of this. Really simple. We get some coriander, some chili, some mint, fresh herbs like that, a little bit of chili. Over the top. And then I get all this mint, coriander, chili, and just chuck it all on the top, like that, with chunks of lime. And then you've got an amazing sort of chili chicken, buttermilk chicken, and now you know how to portion it up. Easy as that. Good luck. Now, if there's anything you'd like to learn about in a little masterclass, then do get in touch. We'll see if we can help out right here on the show. Time now for a quick break, but join me again in a couple of minutes for a chance to watch one of the finest chefs in the modern era, Mr. Stephen Terry, at work. I'll see you in a bit. Welcome back. Now I'll be treating my guests, Ben Miller and Jill Douglas, to a final plate of miso glazed mackerel very shortly. But first, I'm here with a chef who, along with the likes of Sean Hill, has helped turn Abergavenny into a foodie hotspot. It's the brilliant Mr. Stephen Terry. Thank you. Now, welcome back to the show, back to the house. I love your food. You're a big, passionate lover of Italian food as well.
I am, yeah.
A little Italian influence every time you come on.
Yeah, very much. Seems to be a theme, doesn't it? Sort of occur in It is. I don't know why. I gravitate towards the philosophy, the way of eating, the simplicity.
But you did that throughout earlier on in your career, didn't you, as well? You were taking little hints from that, the canteen and all that kind of stuff.
Well, not so much the canteen. That was more French, but I mean, once the coast and I was introduced some Italian ingredients, so went from there, really. Yeah, and
exactly. So on the menu, we got pasta with sort of a different version of pasta, tuna, and
that staple, that student staple. Well, it was when I was a student. Anyway, I mean, I never went to uni, but I mean, a lot.
I never ate like this when I was a student. I know this for a fact.
But I know it's tin of tuna, some mayonnaise, some sweet corn, tin of sweet corn, wax and penne in a pan, and put it together, keep you going for a couple of days.
OK, well, the stage is set, all yours. You want me to make a mayonnaise? You want me to start off doing that?
Yes.
So I'm making like a tuna mayonnaise.
Yeah, so it's essentially you're making a tuna mayonnaise. You've got that vitella tonata, that amazing Italian dish.
Yeah.
So it's essentially, so egg yolks, anchovy, French mustard, Dijon mustard, and we've got the amazing sort of beautiful tuna, which is...
Well, we'll get onto that a little bit later as well, because, like I said, there is tuna and there's tuna out of a tin, and this is mega, this sort of stuff. So what's first for you, then? What are you going to do?
I'm going to, first of all, start off with some olive oil, and I'm going to... So I've got some shallot, some chilli, garlic, and anchovy. The chilli, garlic, anchovy, to me, is that holy trinity, that Italian, when you start off with... any pasta dish really should have, that's the base.
Vongole and all that kind of stuff.
It's a basic flavour. I'm just going to slice the shallots and the chilli, garlic, and we'll soften that. We're going to add some parsley. So that's going to form the base of the pasta dish.
Now, I mentioned Abergavenny. What makes that area so special? Well, I'm just talking about food, because it is amazing food. But you gravitated, there's Sean Hill, all in that area. I mean... Amazing chefs. Gareth Ward's just won #1 best restaurant in the country.
This 2-star Michelin, fantastic, great news, great for Wales. He's such an amazing ambassador, putting, raising, the food profile of Wales with such a prestigious award.
So he's in the north, and you two guys are down in the south, but both sort of very, very famous restaurants. Yours is the Hardwick, and then you've got the Walnut Tree, of course.
Yeah, the Walnut Tree. Well, it was the Walnut Tree that first took me to South Wales, because I bought that originally, and then I moved on and then came back. Well, I never really left Wales, but I did some consultancy in London. Yeah. And then Sean Hill, lovely Sean Hill, took it over, but sort of like 15 years ago, and won back the Michelin star that I originally won back at the Walnut Tree. But the Walnut Tree is an iconic restaurant, has been in Wales for many years, and it's just one of those things. It just brought people to the area. And, we're spoiled for produce as well. We're landlocked, so there's no seafood or fish, but it's not that far away.
So I've added a little bit of veg oil, and then I'm going to add the oil from the anchovy, from...
So you've got a bit of anchovy and some of the oil can go in.
Yeah, so this is the oil as well, so we utilise some
And then maybe some of the oil from the tuna.
So tell us about this tuna, then, because, like I said, there's tuna and there's tuna.
Well, look, I mean, I grew up, having sort of tuna sandwiches to go to school, and there was that, that classic tin tuna that was in vinegar or something, which is OK, but it doesn't taste a lot of anything. And then as if you become interested in food, you discover that there are other tunas are available, which is it's cooked in the jar or in the tin, and it's pieces of tuna, and it's beautifully cooked. It's not pink or anything, but it's still tin tuna kind of thing, or jar tuna in this case, but it's a much better quality and grade. And it's got a much better flavour.
So you can see the pieces of tuna in there. They're almost chunks of tuna when you lift them out as well. I mean, this stuff tastes amazing as well. It really does. Look at it. It's all hand put in this. Beautiful, beautiful. We're going to take some of this, pop it into our dressing with our capers and a little bit more of this oil and that kind of stuff to make a lovely little dressing to go with it. So you put the parsley in. What's next?
So parsley. So I've just taken it off now, because what I'm going to do is heat a little bit of olive oil, and I've got some sliced courgettes. In our crab linguine at the Hardwick, we always put some chopped courgette into it. But this time I'm just got some thinly sliced courgette. I'm just going to soften that now, put a little bit of water in with it, and these will go around the edge of the plate with some beautiful thinly sliced raw tuna, which I've got over here, which I'm going to slice in a minute. So going back to...
raw, it's raw in with the pasta as well?
No, it's going to be on the outside. So you've got... you can eat raw tuna. I mean, it's obviously, we all know it's a thing. So I'm going to cut some of this. This is sweet corn that's been cooked on the cob. You could open a tin and just put it through a pan if you want, but we've just charred this. So I just wanted to put some of this, because it's that classic, it's a nod to that, like we said earlier, that dish of sweet corn and tuna.
Now, I mentioned Abergavenny. Obviously, it's famous for its food festival as well, which has just happened.
It has. It was fantastic.
A phenomenal food festival there.
Yeah, I haven't been part of it recently because I've been committed to other food festivals and bits and pieces. So it's been a while since I've taken part. So, I did a demo, and we had a chef's forum and a chat, and it's always good to be part of something like that. And there's a lot of effort goes, like any food festival, you know yourself, there's so much effort that goes into it.
A lot of work that goes into running it and everything else.
Okay. So I'm going to put a little bit of fresh basil and fresh mint and basil. Love those together with our courgettes. nice and fresh, just singy, you know, you want to be able to taste the flavours, you know. There's nothing worse than sort of saying something's got something in it and it's stealth, and you think, well, where is it, you know? It's like, herbs are there to taste it, so just don't put just like a little pinch, put a decent amount in.
Are you happy with that? Can I put that in the bag yet?
Yeah, that looks perfect. Okay. I like, you know, I like a yellow mayonnaise when you use the oil, like, it comes out like that. A little bit of salt.
So the pasta itself, you're using this linguine, this one?
I am. I'll probably put that in now, actually.
So I know you want to get this in, so I'll leave that with you.
So it's a dried linguine, but it's only a 4-minute cook on this.
Yeah.
So that can come back off now, and this can go back on. That can go on. I love this little spoon pot. We need one of those at home.
It's one of the things when I had the oven spec'd, I said, that's the thing that I want more than anything else.
No, it's a real joy for a chef, that is. I mean, I know we're easily pleased, but...
People are always wondering what it is, and we don't really show it, but this has got a hot tap on it, and the idea is that you leave the hot tap running, so it runs hot water, it keeps the spoons and the utensils clean, and it drains out underneath. But yeah, there you go, that's what that is. Anyway, got the pan over here with your nice pasta.
Yep. I'm going to put a little bit more water in this because, you know, as you know, with a pasta dish, it's all about the emulsion of the pasta water and the oil in the pan. Yep. That's what creates the sauce. I know I'm not trying to teach you to suck cakes here, but I mean... So I'm going to put some of the fresh crab, lovely, amazing fresh crab, in there. And we've got some spring onion.
You said you're not, you know, you are near the coast as well. You have got some, I mean, not just produce on the land, produce on the coast all around Wales. It's just, I mean, it's spectacular.
Oh, it's amazing, you know, incredible crab, beautiful sea bass. And obviously we've got the suin, which is, you know, it's like the salmon trout, you know, the beautiful. I mean, you know, even scallops and obviously shellfish. I mean, it's there, but sadly, like a lot of, like the Scottish produce, it goes to Europe.
I know, it's crazy, isn't it?
Which is, well, it's a little bit of a shame. There we go.
So you want it really, really thin?
Yeah, well, you know, I mean...
Now, it's interesting enough, next week I'm going fishing for tuna.
Are you?
Yeah.
Whereabouts?
Off the south coast of the UK. You can't catch them, it's catch and release, but they're big 300-400 pounders, big, massive, great tuna that come in shoals this time of the year. And they catch and release, tag them as well to follow them, but you wouldn't believe this huge, great tuna just off the south coast.
I mean, the whole tuna thing, you know, in Japan and the money that these fish fetch is just insane. Crazy, yeah. Like, and the different grades and the way that it's just revered, isn't it? This incredible. So we're just going to put that on there. We've got the courgettes to go on. I love fresh tuna. I mean, some people are not familiar with it. It's like, oh, it's raw fish. Well, yeah, then it's very good for you also. Like that. Let's get rid of this. Put that over there.
That's pretty good.
OK, so we've got our little courgettes here. That pasta is always best to give it a little check.
So it's about 4 minutes for that pasta, isn't it?
Yeah, it's probably about that's about a minute away.
Yeah.
Put a little bit of heat into there. There we go. I remember this time. I'm not very good at that normally.
So the courgettes, the idea is you don't want to overcook them, just literally cook them and just...
Absolutely,
yeah.
Textures, the flavours, you know, I think it's a nice marriage. I mean, who doesn't like a bit of fresh courgette? Some nice herbs, bit of seasoning. And the mouthfeel, you know, with that, perfect, thank you.
Yeah, pastas will be about ready now. And tell us what you've got in here, then. You've got this to finish it off.
So that is just fried bread with just a bit of lemon zest. Right. Like a pan granata, but it's not a pan granata. Oh, beautiful, thank you.
Yeah. So a little bit of fresh spinach going in there. So it's just fried bread, that's all it is in here?
Yeah. And so the other thing we have to remember is this amazing mayonnaise that you've made. We're going to finish with that mayonnaise.
You're going to finish it with the mayonnaise and the breadcrumbs and the spring onions and everything else. This is just going to taste ace.
So that crunch, you know, that sort of lovely crunchy pan granata with that lemony. Like that. And then we got... So there's that tuna. I mean, you could use a squeeze bottle and just go around and sort of pipe it on. I just thought Do you know what? It looked quite nice like this. Like so, little drizzle of olive oil.
You're not bad at this, are you, Chief?
I've had a bit of practice. It's like...
Happy with that?
Yeah, there we are.
Stephen Terry, everybody. Bon appetit, chef. Go and dive in. We'll both dive in together. Well, I'm intrigued about this tuna and everything else.
It's the first time I've eaten it as well, so...
I love it. I did tell you it makes it up.
It's all right. For the first time. Oh, what can go wrong?
What can go wrong?
Oh, that's delicious. That tuna's lovely.
How good is that? But like I say, with the mayonnaise and the tuna's really unusual with that, but with the tuna mayonnaise, you get like a secondary sauce with it, don't you? It's absolutely...
You can do double tuna. You know, tuna mayonnaise and raw tuna. It works.
It's really, really good. Stephen Terry, everybody!
Yay! Thank you.
The man's a legend. We've still got time for one more final dish, so join us again after the break where we're treating Ben Miller and Jill Douglas to a show-stopping recipe for mackerel. I'll see you in a bit. Welcome back to the last part of the show. I'm back in the kitchen with all my guests. All of them. All of them. I shan't list them because it's going to take over my time to cook, but we've got them all in here. For my final dish, I thought I'd do a lovely little mackerel dish. Glazed mackerel, miso glazed mackerel, with the help of these two, because I thought we'll do a nice little sort of spring onion fritters. So we're going to make that. The first thing we're going to do is I'll crack on and do the spring onions. I need to make a little batter so you guys can start cracking on with that one. And then we're going to use the spring onions, and I thought I'd chop this through. You're quite happy just sat there, aren't you? Because this is
quite a treat for me, actually.
I'm usually put you to work, you see. That's the thing when you're here.
I know. It's a treat.
Exactly. So we've got these amazing sort of spring onions. You keep the root on if you want to do this, like that. And we're going to slice these through like that. And we'll make these nice little fritters. So they become sort of mix and match. So root on, slice through, like that, all the way through. Now, I know you're a lover of sort of miso fish as well.
Love it.
So this ingredient that we've got over here is amazing. So this is a fermented soya bean paste. I don't know if any of you familiar with that, really?
I've eaten it. I wouldn't say...
You've eaten it?
Same.
You've eaten it. Well, you're like the... I feel like if we're doing baking, I need to ask you, you know...
Well, any tips you need.
Precisely. Did you surprise yourself on that one?
I surprised myself how competitive I was.
Right.
I mean, you're chefs, you'll know how it is. You know, it's a creative art, but it's also one where you look at the bench of the person next to you and think, oh, I'm going to try a bit harder next time.
So those chefs amongst us over here, we never went to watch TV, you see. So we're talking about Bake Off.
Yeah.
Won the celebrity version of Bake Off.
Yes, which isn't quite the same as winning Bake Off. I know, I understand.
It's near enough.
Being the least worst of the people who are baking that week. So, yeah.
Right, so look, we've got on here, so I've got some mirin, I've got sugar, and I've got some of this white miso paste. And the idea is we bring this to the boil, like that, and mix it all together. And I need the other chef amongst us.
Maybe I'll stir it for you.
And then you can just whisk it, if that's all right. Stop it from burning. Is that all right? Perfect. Prevent it going lumpy and stop it from burning. It's all yours. So we're just going to get that just ticking over nicely. Meanwhile, mackerel. Because I know, Jill, you go fishing for mackerel, don't you?
Fishing for mackerel off the Devon coast.
Yeah.
Sometimes successfully, sometimes less successfully, but it is a lovely thing to do. And if you can find fresh mackerel and bring them home and cook them yourself.
And it's one of those things, when you get it, and you get it really, really fresh, it's just one of the best fish around. So to fillet it, I don't know whether you've ever tried to fillet mackerel or whether you've just given it to somebody else.
Give it to somebody else. I can clean a fish, you know, if I need to, but with mackerel...
Well, let me start with the whole mackerel. So whole mackerel, very, very simple. Flat fish, you've got 4 fillets. Round fish, you've got 2 fillets, all right? So what you do, nature's been amazing. It's drawn you lines. You follow those lines, basically. It's like painting by numbers, isn't it? Yeah. But what you do is you take the knife underneath towards the gills, 45 degrees to there, and the knife won't go any further. Then all you do is you turn the knife the other way, and you just slide this along,
What? It looks like a magic trick. That's amazing.
Comes off. And you do the same thing again with the other side. So
sharp knife.
It's a sharp knife.
Definitely need a sharp
knife. Is it a magic knife?
No, it's not a magic knife. Not like a magic tree. None of that. It's just a sharp knife, and it comes off like this. And then what we're going to do is just with mackerel like this. Just quickly wash my hands. So I'm just going to simply cook it. All right. How are we doing over there, guys? You right?
Beautiful. Yeah, spot on.
They're not going soggy, are they? They're nice.
You know what? They're actually stinging my eyes.
They're stinging your eyes?
The onions are coming right.
Well, that's because he doesn't work in the kitchen anymore, isn't it, really? Exactly. He's all gone front of house now, isn't he?
Don't start.
Yeah, he's not working in the kitchen anymore. You need to get him back in the kitchen, that's what that is.
Keep him out the front.
So we're just going to take our nice little bit of the miso like this. So you're just going to put a little bit on it. Now, the thing about this is that it will burn under the grill. It'll blacken. Now, you actually want that sort of, that sort of, not too burnt. You don't want it burnt. Can you pass us the mackerel fillets that we've got in there? There's a few more that I've got in there.
Yeah.
But you want to take this mackerel now and just pop it on here. This is just to do the other side. You can, if you wanted to, take this mackerel. The smell of it's incredible, isn't it? That's the fermented soybean. And all you do with this is you take the mackerel like that. There we go. Perfect. And then you can, if you want, take this glaze and pop the fish, when it's cold, pop the fish in the glaze like they do with the blackened cod. You know the famous blackened cod that fancy London restaurants have it? But you must put mackerel on the menu at your place.
Love it. I mean, I think mackerel is one of those fish that's really appreciated being being eaten raw, like mackerel tartare. And, you know, sometimes it's quite a thing that shares blowtorch in mackerel because it's really appreciated just really undercooked because it's, you know, if it's cooked all the way through, it's quite fibrous. You know, it's quite sort of like, it's almost like tin fish, isn't it?
Yeah.
So the texture...
And grilling it, I always think, is the perfect one for this.
It's just to undercook it, you know, and it will carry on cooking as well.
So I'm just going to leave that. It's going to take, what, 30 seconds, 45 seconds under a hot grill? That's all it's going to take?
Really quick.
So while that's happening, we're going to make a dressing. So while I'm making the dressing, we can talk rugby, we can talk books, we can talk everything. Because rugby's...
Rugby books? You've got a rugby book coming?
Rugby books, you haven't done that yet? Let's recap on rugby. Those people who are just waking up on a Saturday morning... You've missed a hell of a show, by the way, but we were talking earlier about the Women's Rugby World Cup as well. That's happening.
It is.
Tell us about that.
Well,
Based in New Zealand?
Rather hoping that by the time they've got to watching this show, they've already watched some of the rugby.
We like to hope so, yeah.
We are going to be going on air really early in the morning because it's in New Zealand, because of the time difference, so we'll be up really early. So you'll either be coming in after a late Friday night and decide to turn on the TV and watch some amazing rugby, or you'll be getting up very early to watch the rugby. And so England, Scotland and Wales have all qualified for the Rugby World Cup finals in New Zealand. I think England have got a look of champions about them, so it'll be fun to see how they do. But yeah, we're on air every Saturday, Sunday morning through October, November, with the final on 13th of November.
Well remembered.
And I'll probably get that wrong. But it's going to be a lot of fun. And I've got some great people with me. Nolly Waterman, Maggie Alfonsi, they've won World Cups with England. Their knowledge of the game is incredible. And yeah, we'll have a lot of fun. We'll be getting up early, enjoying our rugby, and then tuning in to see what we're going to eat for lunch.
Well, he'll be up watching anyway because he'll be busy writing as well. Because you got to say, we just recap to
7th and 8th.
7th and 8th, because it's not your 7th and 8th. We mentioned the children's book. I've just got my mackerels just underneath. I've made a little. This is a little. It's called we're using Ponzu dressing, really. It's soy, it's some of this yuzu juice. I don't know if you've tasted this before. This is amazing. So this is amazing. It's like a really, really strong satsumari, lime, lemon, but just take a little bit of that on your finger, taste it. It's incredible. It's absolutely incredible.
It's not cologne.
Yeah. It smells very similar to my cologne.
It tastes amazing.
Oh, yeah. Where do you buy that?
You can get
that
from...
a preserved lemon kind of...
Yes, it's a particular type of fruit. So yuzu is a type of fruit. It's like satsumari, lime, isn't it? But
that's delicious.
But it is absolutely... Supermarkets. Well, supermarket, not your normal supermarket. You'll just walk past it and not knowing what to do with it. But look out for it. YUZU as well. But I mentioned the fact that this is your 6th one.
Yes.
6 children's book as well. You've written other books as well. But this.
I've written another one while we've been doing the show. So I'll be promoting that in a minute.
So tell us the story about this one, because this came out of the lockdown as well. You were...
Yes, so it came out of lockdown, basically. Discovered this incredible tree that was right behind my house, just went wandering around in the fields behind my house. There's a tree that had a face, eyes, nose, mouth, and I had this idea that the main characters of my story, they're staying with their grandparents. Nana's reading them a bedtime story, and they discover that if they climb up through this hollow tree, they can go into the bedtime story. So, like a lot of my stories, it's about, you know, I keep saying, you know, is that a magic knife? Is that... There's generally some kind of element of magic in the stories. So in this case, it's a tree. A hollow tree.
So you've had a little insight of the way his brain's working, see? That's what it is.
Yeah.
But look, we've just got this dressing over here as well. This goes over the top. This is just delicious, this dressing. It's so pungent, and this very, very little... And I've just put a little bit of Dijon mustard in here. You wouldn't think about putting Dijon mustard in there, but you can either put that or horseradish, but I absolutely detest horseradish. It's the food of the devil. I don't have it in my kitchen. I don't have it in a mile's circumference of this house. I cannot stand it. So I use a little bit of Dijon mustard. That's going to go in there. And the mackerel, it's just cooked. See, there, look. So,
that's incredible.
It's just... And you will get that, and that's because you put the sugar in with everything else. It's gone in here as well. And you can just lift off your beautiful mackerel, look like that, and put that. And like you say, you don't want to be overcooking mackerel, do you, really? Just keep it nice and simple. A couple of fillets over the top. I can see that's going to be in the Hardwick menu next week. Either that or a certain restaurant near Reading, that's going to be in as well, but that's going to be on there. But there you have it, sort of miso glazed mackerel. You've got a little bit of dressing left if you want to pop this little dressing on and around if you wanted to, but which is also great. You can have this hot or cold, but that sits with all that. So there we have it, my final dish for this morning, miso glazed mackerel with a nice little bit of oriental dressing. Done. You guys can eat it like that, can't you?
Yeah,
exactly.
Definitely. Chef style.
Exactly, chef style. Can you be mum and divvy it out to these lot, or are they just going to dive in one step when you work your way through? But tell me what you think of that. Tell me what you think. Dive in. Yeah. I think with the fish simply cooked. It's that miso in it. It's that oriental flavour. It goes so well with mackerel.
That is so good.
But this mackerel still comes through. It's not overpowering.
Yeah.
It's just
that's
beautiful.
delicious.
Happy with that?
Yeah, that's really good.
Bob on.
Bob on.
Yeah.
Is that what it is?
Bob on. Yeah.
We end with the words Bob on. And there we go. That's it. That's all we've got time for today. A massive thank you to Richard and Joy Morris, Stephen Terry, Ryan and Liam Simpson-Trotman, and, of course, Ben Miller and Jill Douglas. We'll see you back here at the same time next Saturday morning where we'll be celebrating Emmerdale's 50th anniversary with actress Olivia Bromley and 3 of the best chefs in the business. Until then, take care, stay safe. Thanks for watching, everybody. Oh, and good luck to England, Scotland and Wales in the Rugby World Cup next weekend. Bye for now.